There comes a point in life when you finally realize something unsettling. The world does not reward the most genuine, nor the most capable, nor the most loyal. It rewards the people who understand how human behavior works beneath the surface. You can be honest and still be betrayed. You can be excellent and still be overlooked. You can be committed and still be replaced. That is the nature of the world. But the people who can see this truth do not collapse under it. They evolve. Their perspective sharpens. Their decisions become deliberate. Their emotions stop steering the wheel. They begin to operate from a deeper, quieter intelligence shaped by pressure, disappointment, and experience. An intelligence that observes while others react, evaluates while others panic, and acts with precision while others act from impulse. This is dark intelligence. Not darkness in the moral sense, but in the sense of what is hidden, subtle, and rarely spoken about. It is the kind of intelligence that forms when you refuse to be blindsided by the same patterns again. When you stop giving people knowledge they haven't earned. When you stop handing others the tools to hurt you. It is a more strategic way of moving through life, built not on cruelty, but on clarity. The first trait of this mindset is the veiled mind. People assume that influence grows by being transparent, by explaining your motives, by sharing everything openly. But full transparency removes your advantage. The strategically intelligent reveal only what serves the situation. Not lies, not manipulation, but selective disclosure. Think of the individuals who stay in your mind long after you meet them. They are not the ones who narrated their life story. They are the ones who spoke carefully, revealed fragments, and let your mind fill in the spaces. This is not evasiveness. It is controlled presence. It makes your words heavier because you don't give them away cheaply. You don't owe every detail of your plans, your fears, or your next move. When someone asks about your future, you don't hand them the blueprint. You offer a single line. When someone asks how you spend your time, you don't break down your entire routine. You give the headline, not the whole article. People respect what they cannot easily access. They pay more attention when you speak less. They listen differently when your energy is not scattered everywhere. The veiled mind creates curiosity, and curiosity creates influence. In a world where oversharing has become normal, restraint becomes power. The second trait of dark intelligence is the adaptive self. Most people cling to one version of themselves because they believe consistency equals authenticity. They insist on speaking the same way to everyone, reacting the same way in every situation, and presenting the same personality in every environment. But life is not a single-stage performance. Different rooms require different versions of you. Adaptive intelligence is not about being fake. It is about being effective. You don't speak to a mentor the way you speak to a rival. You don't speak to a colleague the way you speak to an old friend. You don't communicate with a sensitive person the way you communicate with a logical thinker. When you meet someone, you are not just meeting a person. You are meeting their worldview, their trauma, their preferences, their insecurities, their history. The more you understand this, the more strategically you can navigate them. Water takes the shape of any container, but it never stops being water. The adaptive self works the same way. You adjust your expression without losing your core. You shift your tone without losing your integrity. You change your approach without changing your principles. The people who succeed in social, professional, and emotional environments are not always the most talented. They are the ones who can read the room and communicate in the language that room understands. Observe the person in front of you. Do they seek logic or empathy? Do they respond to directness or subtlety? Do they need reassurance or challenge? Do they react to tone more than content? Every person reveals their operating system if you listen carefully. When you adjust to their operating system, you gain clarity, influence, and access. The third trait is emotional detachment. Not coldness. Not indifference. Detachment. It is the ability to care without allowing that care to control you. Most people lose power because they become too attached to outcomes, approval, relationships, or expectations. They fear losing what they want, and this fear becomes a chain. When you are afraid to lose something, you cannot negotiate from strength. When you fear someone walking away, you compromise your standards. When you fear judgment, you silence your truth. Detachment frees you from these invisible traps. You still care, you still love, you still commit, but you do not collapse if things don't go your way. You don't depend on external factors to maintain emotional stability. Paradoxically, detachment often makes you more respected. When others sense that you are not desperate, they adjust their behavior. They treat you with caution, not carelessness. They understand that you cannot be easily manipulated or guilted. Detachment gives you choices. Attachment limits them. When you no longer fear losing people, opportunities, or outcomes, you begin to act from strength rather than insecurity. This is the foundation of psychological independence, and without it, the rest of the traits cannot be developed. The fourth trait is silent leverage. Power is rarely loud. It rarely announces itself. It rarely needs to. The strongest form of influence isn't forceful persuasion, it's quiet positioning. Silent leverage is the art of shaping outcomes without raising your voice, without demanding, without exerting unnecessary pressure. You create conditions where others move in the direction you want naturally because of how you carry yourself. Most people misunderstand influence. They think it comes from speaking more, explaining more, or dominating a conversation. But the truth is that the person who controls the pace controls the room. Strategic silence is often more powerful than aggressive speech. When you speak less, people listen more carefully. They analyze your pauses. They overthink your simplicity. They assign meaning to things you never even said. Silence triggers projection. People reveal themselves trying to fill it. They explain too much, expose too much, promise too much. Meanwhile, you observe. You gain insight without needing to force anything. Silent leverage isn't passive, it's patient. It's the understanding that influence comes not from constant pressure but from well-timed presence. In relationships, silent leverage comes from being consistent without being needy. When you are a source of stability but not a source of desperation, people naturally value you. In social settings, silent leverage comes from not rushing to impress. The less you try, the more curiosity you generate. In professional environments, it comes from solving problems without announcing your capability. When competence is displayed rather than declared, it becomes undeniable. The fifth trait is psychological echo. Every person you meet has invisible fears, desires, insecurities, and ambitions. They rarely express them directly, but they reveal them indirectly through tone, choice of words, and emotional emphasis. Psychological echo is the ability to reflect those deeper layers back to someone, making them feel understood at a level they cannot articulate themselves. People do not bond with you because you speak well. They bond because you make them feel seen. When someone expresses frustration, you don't respond with solutions. You reflect the underlying need for recognition. When someone expresses doubt, you reflect their desire for reassurance. When someone expresses anger, you reflect their fear of being ignored or disrespected. This creates connection without effort, trust without persuasion, influence without force. Most people listen to reply. The strategically intelligent listen to discover the emotional blueprint behind what is being said. Once you understand a person's psychological blueprint, you can speak to the parts of them they hide from the world. And when you do, they begin to gravitate toward you. Psychological echo is not manipulation. It is awareness. It is the recognition that people respond not to what they hear but to what they feel beneath the words. When you understand that layer, you navigate human behavior with precision. The sixth trait is ambiguous morality. Not immorality. not a lack of principles. Ambiguous morality means you understand that real life does not operate in clean categories of right and wrong. It operates in context, consequence, and complexity. People who cling too tightly to rigid moral frameworks often end up powerless, because they are unprepared for situations where hard choices must be made. Someone with ambiguous morality doesn't chase the appearance of goodness. They focus on outcomes. They don't act to be admired, they act to be effective. They recognize that kindness can sometimes enable destruction, and that firmness can sometimes prevent it. Doing what is necessary doesn't always look noble in the moment, but it often leads to better long-term results. This trait shows up most clearly in leadership. There will be moments when protecting the larger group means disappointing one person. Moments when telling the difficult truth is kinder than offering comforting lies. Moments when stepping back is wiser than stepping in. People with ambiguous morality do not confuse discomfort with wrongdoing. They make decisions based on alignment with their values, not based on how others might judge them. It is easy to be ethical in easy situations. The strategically intelligent are ethical when the path is unclear, when every option has consequences, when every choice costs something. They navigate the gray areas not with arrogance but with responsibility. They understand that a principled life requires courage, not perfection. The seventh trait is controlled exposure. In a world where people reveal everything, every thought, every emotion, every detail of their personal life, those who share selectively become far more powerful. Information is leverage. Not because it needs to be used, but because once released, it no longer belongs to you. Controlled exposure means revealing yourself slowly, intentionally, and only when it supports your goals or deepens trust with someone who has proven reliability. Most people give too much, too soon. They think openness accelerates connection. In reality, it accelerates vulnerability. It allows others to predict your patterns, anticipate your reactions, and use your emotional transparency against you. Strategic individuals understand that not everyone deserves access to their inner world. They don't hide who they are, they simply share in layers. Personal history, private fears, long-term plans, these are reserved for people who have demonstrated loyalty, discretion, and depth. Everyone else receives only the parts necessary to maintain healthy interaction. By sharing less, you maintain the ability to redefine yourself. You remain adaptable instead of confined to an identity you revealed prematurely. Controlled exposure protects your boundaries, your peace, and your long-term plans. It ensures that no one can weaponize your openness or use your past to limit your future. The final trait is outcome obsession. A mindset where arguments, pride, and ego become irrelevant. Only results matter. When you think this way, you stop fighting battles that don't advance your goals. You stop explaining yourself to people who don't influence your life. You stop wasting energy on being right and start focusing on being effective. Outcome obsession turns your focus away from noise and places it firmly on direction. Most people spend their lives in reactive mode. They want to win arguments, defend their image, and satisfy their impulses. They waste time correcting misunderstandings, chasing validation, or proving themselves to people who don't contribute to their goals. None of that produces progress. Outcome-focused individuals move differently. Before reacting to anything, they ask one question. Does this action bring me closer to the result I want? If the answer is no, they disengage immediately. They do not argue for pride. They do not chase temporary satisfaction. They do not participate in emotional games. They conserve their energy for the moves that matter. This mindset changes everything. You stop fighting battles that cost you more than they reward you. You stop trying to convince people who are committed to misunderstanding you. You stop measuring yourself by how you look and start measuring yourself by what you create. Outcome obsession is the foundation of strategic living. It removes distractions. It exposes priorities. It forces you to confront whether your daily habits match your long-term goals. When outcomes guide you, you stop procrastinating because delay becomes a direct threat to what you want. You stop caring about judgment because judgment produces nothing. You stop fearing failure because failure becomes data, not identity. The most difficult part is letting go of emotional impulses. Ego wants to win every argument. Outcome thinking asks whether the argument is relevant at all. Ego wants to prove its intelligence. Outcome thinking asks whether proving it benefits anything. Ego wants attention. Outcome thinking seeks progress. When you begin operating with outcome obsession, your movements become quieter but far more impactful. You aren't rushing. You aren't announcing. You aren't performing. You are executing. People might not understand your decisions at first. They might misinterpret your silence, your selectiveness, your detachment. That is fine. Those who measure their lives by external reactions will always be confused by those who measure their lives by results. The 8 traits of dark intelligence are not about domination. They are about self-mastery. They help you see the world without illusions, people without projections, and yourself without excuses. They allow you to move with intention, navigate conflict with clarity, and pursue goals with precision. You become someone who is not easily provoked, not easily misled, and not easily controlled. This intelligence does not scream. It does not demand attention. It does not parade itself. It shows up in the way you choose your words carefully, in the way you walk away from meaningless battles, in the way you observe more than you react, in the way you protect your boundaries without explanation, in the way you pursue outcomes instead of validation. When all 8 traits combine, something shifts. You stop living as a target. You stop living as a reactor. You stop living as someone who waits for life to be fair. You begin living as someone who understands the terrain, studies the players, and moves with purpose. Not to harm, not to deceive, but to navigate the world with clarity, efficiency, and emotional independence. This is dark intelligence. Not darkness of intention, but darkness of depth. The intelligence that forms where the ordinary stops looking, where the reactive mind cannot reach, and where the strategic mind begins to awaken.